Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the program. We are unpacking a lot of the information that is in the latest COVID stimulus bill, 1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act. And we've got a lot to unpack here on the program. So welcome back to Dollars and Cents, where we help you make sense out of all of life's decisions involving your dollars, particularly giant stimulus bills that pass in Washington. My name is Joel Garris. I'm a certified financial planner, certified financial fiduciary with Nelson Financial Planning, where our team of certified financial fiduciaries stands ready this week to help you change your life with a successful and cost-effective financial plan. So before the break, we were talking a little bit about some of the big categories, right? The stimulus checks obviously were 400 billion of the 1.9 trillion. Schools about 130 billion of the 1.9 trillion. COVID-19 treatment, distribution, contact tracing, another 133 billion. Boy, these billions just kind of roll off your tongue, don't they? Anyway, the next sort of major chunk, if you will, of that 1.9 trillion is the 360 billion that is going to state and local governments. Again, if you crush your economy by keeping your businesses closed, then you get rewarded, question mark? I think that's kind of how this sort of is playing out. That doesn't make any sense at all, in our opinion. The conversation that you're hearing about this part of the bill is, oh, it's going to go to infrastructure, except that the infrastructure piece of this is only about 10 billion of the 360 billion. Of that 360 billion, about half going to local governments and the other half going to states. So just kind of scratching the head on that one as well. But again, finance guy, not a politician. Next up is the unemployment. Unemployment extended benefits add another 250 billion, and another chunk here. And what the American Rescue Plan Act did is it added an extra $300, much like the CARES Act added extra money to the baseline unemployment that you get from your state. So the baseline unemployment that you get from the state, for example, here in Florida, is a little under $300 a week. What the federal government did, and what they did with the CARES Act as previously, is they added like $400, and I think in some cases they were adding even more at one point. But this time around, with this stimulus bill, they added an extra $300 on top of the roughly $300 that you get from the state. So basically the feds are coming in and supplementing with another $300 per week. That will run until September the 6th. So another extended stimulus. So at $600 per week, that's $2,400 per month, just on a monthly basis. And then if you were to do annually, that's about $30,000 a year in terms of income. I guess if you're doing the math, right, if you get $600 a week, you're working 40 weeks, that's $15 an hour. See how all those numbers sort of all come together? So if I can sit at home and collect, I would say to anybody that owns a restaurant or has a landscaping company or restaurants, landscapers, home builders, things like that, folks that would typically pay, something $13, $14 an hour. Good luck finding people, because there's no reason to, and you're getting $15 an hour effectively with your unemployment. And here's the real kicker on all of this. The real kicker on all of this is the first 10,000 of unemployment that you get, assuming your income is under $150,000, which, by the way, it's a pretty big income number when you stop and think about it. The first 10,000 of unemployment, tax-free. So let me get this straight. So basically, unemployment is paying me the equivalent of $15 an hour, and it's doing that on a tax-free basis. Versus if I go and work, I got to pay taxes. Well, I know what I'd do, wouldn't you? I'd just sit at home. There you go. Now, here's the crazy part of this. If you don't think this is crazy already, here's the crazy part of it. What they also did was they said that this tax-free provision of unemployment benefits goes to 2020. Wait a second. What if I already filed my tax return for 2020? Because, we're in the middle of tax season. It's like mid-March, right? So if I already filed my taxes and now you're telling me that that income was tax-free and I put it on my tax return like I was supposed to because that's the law and I paid taxes on it, and more often than not there was probably some tax withheld on it, what do I do about my 2020 tax return? How do I solve that? Do I need to go back? Do I need to amend it? Well, yeah, I guess you do. That's the crazy. If this thing can't get any crazier, that's the crazy part is you're telling, there's tens of millions of Americans who have already filed their taxes for the year 2020. And you're changing taxation provisions on a source of income that many Americans got last year, many Americans got for the first time ever last year, because of the shutdown that was created as a result of the pandemic. Wow. And then here's the last category, last major category, if you will, under the stimulus bill, and that's the category of tax credits. So $143 billion of the 1.9 trillion go into tax credits, and basically there are three credits, if you will, whose parameters have certainly expanded on the stimulus bill. First and foremost is the child tax credit. That's increased from $2,000 up to $3,000. If you have a kid under the age of 6, then you get $3,600. I'm trying to understand the logic there. I guess if you were affected by the pandemic, couldn't send the kid off to school, so you get a little bit more money, but yet if you were in these states that didn't reopen their schools, then you had the same problem no matter how old the kid was. Anyway, okay, that's where that is. If it's under 6, you get $3,600 instead of $3,000, and then now you can get it at age 17. Also, the credit now fully refundable. So what that means is that if you don't actually owe any taxes, then you will get even that as like a cash back kind of thing on your tax return. Similarly, the earned income tax credit was also expanded to provide that. That's another one where if you make below a certain income level, you wind up getting money back from the government that you did not even pay in. So again, that's what, when we talk about credits and things like this that are being fully refundable or come onto your tax return that might not otherwise be there, then the reality is that yes, there's been an expansion of those as well. And then lastly, there's a child and dependent care tax credit. This one's been around for a while, of course, but you were limited to being able to write off just $3,000 of those costs, and the percentage of those costs that you were able to write off as a tax credit varied depending upon your income. But the most amount you were able to write off was $3,000. The latest stimulus bill changed that number from 3 up to 8,000. You can do that for 2 kids. So and you can also get have that credit also be refundable. So even if you don't have enough income tax, or if these credits are more than what your income tax bill is, you're going to get the difference in a check. So they also expanded the child and dependent care credit, allows you to basically write off a lot more of those expenses and get a tax credit for it. So massive changes on those. Those are just sort of the highlights. We haven't even really begun to unpack some of the details on it. But the most important piece of all of that is understand that some of the changes in the bill dramatically affect your 2020 tax return. And the crazy thing is that for millions and millions of Americans, they've already filed their tax return for 2020. We're going to take an even deeper look into what all of that means, but because those that have filed their tax return already for 2020, particularly with this unemployment stuff that's now going to be non-taxable, you've got to amend your return. I mean, that's what you got to do. So the reality is, though, that it gets even more crazier, or I guess more, you got to know the rules of the game, if you will, when it comes to the stimulus checks. So on the next segment, we're really going to sort of start to unpack those stimulus checks, when to expect them, how much, whether you're going to be eligible or not. So stay tuned through the break here on Dollars and Cents, and we will return here on News Radio WFLA Orlando 96.9 again.